Every day, we rely on energy to power our cars and heat our homes. In 2011, world primary energy consumption increased by 2.5%. With growing demand for power, states are turning to renewable forms of energy to help accommodate this growing need. Washington State has been actively pursuing renewable energy and was ranked #1 in renewable electric profiles. New state laws ensure Washington remains green. Avista Representative Paul Kimmel explains how Avista and First Wind came together to put a new wind farm on the Palouse.
The idea for the wind farm came out of a need for a utility, an investor-owned utility like Avista, to provide a certain amount of renewable energy in its portfolio. And much of that was driven through the state law. By the year 2020, we have to have 15% of our portfolio as a qualifying renewable. So we went out into the marketplace and asked for proposals. And Palouse Wind, or First Wind, the parent, submitted a proposal that was viable.
Avista needed to meet that need, so they were actively looking for renewable projects, and this obviously fit that profile.
This one made the best sense. It qualifies as a renewable. The resource looks really strong. The wind blows quite a bit, and it made sense because it was close to our transmission. So you add up all those things, it was a logical choice for us.
Once an agreement was reached, the real work began.
We started developing Palouse Wind in about 2008. This project took almost 4 years to get to the construction date, and now we're in operations. But we had a year or two of meteorological data, a year or so of permitting, working with the local community, landowners, and then, of course, another year discussing the actual size of the project, how much power would be sold, and who would ultimately buy the power.
We entered into what's called a power purchase agreement with Palouse Wind to buy all of that generation from their project.
Because Avista supplies power to such a large area, they needed to build a large-scale wind farm to meet their needs.
So currently at Palouse Wind there are 58 Vestas V100 turbines. They're each 1.8 megawatts. So it's a total of 105 megawatt project. It's enough energy for about 30,000 Avista customers.
But before power can reach those homes, the wind first has to be converted to electricity.
Really, you need three things to develop a wind project. You need wind to generate the electricity, you need to be close to transmission, and then you need a market in order to sell your power.
In simple terms, energy in the wind pushes a rotor. This turns a drive shaft which creates electricity in a generator. That electricity then runs down tower, being converted into various voltages along the way. Finally, the electricity is converted from the 34.5 kV range to Avista's 230 kV range at a common substation. First Wind Operations Manager Gregory Scorsone explains that the substation is essential to getting the power to Avista.
The substation is of course collecting all the energy from each of the turbines, and then it's going through a series of different circuits and breakers, as I mentioned, to be protected. Then it goes through a main transformer. That main transformer converts it to the voltages coming off the turbines, which is 34.5 kV.
Once the power hits the Avista grid at the switching station, Avista takes those electrons and serves their load.
To assure that all power efficiently reaches Avista, First Wind has to make sure all 58 turbines are working properly.
So each turbine's monitored individually. There's hundreds of points that are measured, various sensors, wind speeds, temperatures, barometric pressure, a lot of data points coming from each turbine. First Wind has a 24/7 monitoring center in Boston and a redundant monitoring system in Temecula, California, where we have staff that monitor the various information that the turbine's providing.
So in essence, when it's fully operational and the wind's blowing, in essence about 30,000 homes. So it's typical, a megawatt of generations and can power about 450 homes.
First Wind and Avista aren't the only ones excited about powering homes with renewable energy. Senator Maria Cantwell is also supportive of renewable energy.
Well, I think that there are great new sources of energy like wind and solar and biofuels, and we need to be supportive of them.
While many support projects like this one, community members near the project voiced concerns.
We had comments ranging from impacts on the Palouse Prairie, birds and bats, aesthetics, economics, impacts to local schools. We had positive comments on the same level too. Benefits to birds versus, coal or whatnot. So I mean, the comments ranged positive, negative on all those various environmental topics that when building a large infrastructure project that you typically see.
First Wind is working to address common wind farm problems like injury to birds.
So when it comes to birds, we're conducting inspections. We've got a consultant on board who's going to do some monitoring for for any avian impacts.
They also addressed wind turbine noise.
Flipping over to the noise concern, we've done a series of noise studies. The conditional use permit requires that we keep noise emissions to less than 50 decibels. In general, the turbines are fairly quiet, and I don't expect any issues with noise out here.
Those concerns aside, First Wind had to address concerns specific to Eastern Washington.
One of the unique challenges that we've had on this project just has to do with the farming community and the location of these turbines being on some very, very fertile wheat ground, and it became clear very early on as we're working with the folks at Whitman County and the various landowners and tenant farmers that farming is certainly king. Typically, if you go out to other parts of the country and the ground is not heavy in agriculture, you can be a little more bold with some of your selections, some of your siting.
The land isn't the only thing affected. Local Oaksdale resident and crop dusting pilot Daryl Fender says his business is being affected too. The turbines are too high for Daryl and his team to spray crops properly.
We have to control where our spray goes. The only way, or the best way to control it is to be right 6-10 feet off the ground. So you can't release stuff up that high in the air because you have no idea where it's going to go. So we just don't even do that. It's not even a consideration. That's why we're buying a ground sprayer to do large sections to try and keep us safe.
Daryl hopes the ground sprayer will allow him to continue spraying all of his customers' crops.
I know that several customers have complained to me about it, several farmers, and they were all wondering if we would still be able to do their work, and we're just trying to figure out a way to make it work.
It's understandable that projects this size would cause communities to undergo an adjustment period, but wind energy isn't going anywhere. State law is requiring companies to expand their renewable energy profiles. Employees at First Wind believe relying more on the renewable energy will be good for the state.
Renewable energy in general is a great thing. Anything we can do to reduce our dependency on foreign oil and things of that nature is good, in my opinion. I think wind offers a lot of benefits, especially in an area like this, an area where the wind resource is good, an area where the revenue and tax benefits of a project like this can really help the community. Technology's gone a long, long way. Even in the last 4 or 5 years, it's gone a long way. Turbines are becoming more efficient, less expensive. So for that reason, I think wind power is something that's becoming very cost competitive. And when you have an area like this where the wind resource is as good as it is, it's a very, very positive way to generate carbon-free electricity.
Behind hydroelectric power, Wind energy is the second largest contributor to Washington's renewable portfolio. Turning to renewable energy is a great way for Washington to continue to power its communities. And with our ever-growing demand for energy, it seems that Washington may have more renewable energy projects in its future.